Have you ever wondered if your acts of kindness truly matter in this vast, often indifferent universe? In a world that seems to reward selfishness and ambition, is there any value in sacrificing your own comfort for others? What if I told you that the universe keeps a perfect ledger of every selfless deed, that no act of compassion goes unnoticed or unrewarded? That behind the veil of our ordinary reality, cosmic justice silently works to balance all accounts. This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a truth as old as humanity itself, woven into the fabric of existence. And today, I'll share with you a story that just might change how you view every choice you make from this moment forward. In a small, forgotten village nestled between rolling hills, lived a man named Thomas. He wasn't remarkable in appearance. Average height, weathered hands from years of labor, and clothes that had seen better days. His cottage was modest, with a leaking roof that needed fixing, and walls that barely kept the winter chill at bay. By all conventional measures, Thomas had very little. What he did possess, however, couldn't be measured by any material standard. A heart so expansive, it seemed to have no boundaries. Each morning, Thomas would rise before dawn and work tirelessly in the fields. The meager wages he earned were barely enough to sustain himself and his wife, Eleanor. Yet despite their circumstances, Thomas never walked past suffering without stopping. If a stray dog approached him while he ate his lunch in the fields, Thomas would unhesitatingly share his meal, often leaving himself hungry. When travelers passed through, weary and famished, he invited them in and offered what little food he had. Such was the nature of Thomas, giving freely without calculation or expectation. Eleanor watched this pattern with growing frustration and worry. "Your kindness will be our undoing," she would say, her voice tight with concern. "We barely have enough for ourselves. You must think of us first, Thomas." But Thomas would simply smile, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Eleanor, an empty stomach is a temporary discomfort, but turning away from someone in need creates a permanent wound in the soul. The universe sees everything. It always provides." Eleanor would shake her head, unconvinced by what she viewed as her husband's naive philosophy. One sweltering afternoon, as Thomas rested briefly in the shade of his porch, a figure appeared on the dusty road leading to their home. An elderly monk, his robes tattered and his face etched with exhaustion, slowly made his way toward the cottage. From the window, Eleanor noticed him first and sighed heavily. "Another mouth to feed," she muttered, "as if we don't have enough troubles." The monk's voice was barely audible when he called out a greeting, parched and weak from what seemed like days without proper sustenance. Thomas immediately rose and approached the gate, concern evident in his quick stride. When Thomas opened the door, he was struck by the monk's condition. The old man's face was drawn, his clothes soiled with the dust of long travel, and his body trembling slightly from weakness. Thomas didn't hesitate for a moment. "Please, come inside and rest," he said, guiding the elderly monk to the shadiest spot in their small courtyard. "I'll bring you water immediately." Thomas hurried inside and returned with a pitcher of cool water. The monk drank deeply, relief washing over his features. After catching his breath, he looked up at Thomas with grateful eyes. I haven't eaten in 2 days, the monk confessed. If you could spare even a crust of bread, I would be eternally grateful. Thomas immediately turned toward the kitchen, but when he arrived, his heart sank. There on the table lay just 2 small loaves of bread, the entirety of their food for the day. In their poverty, even this simple meal had been difficult to secure. Without a second thought, Thomas reached for the loaves. As he turned to leave, Eleanor blocked his path, her eyes flashing with anger. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice rising. "Those are our only loaves. If you give them away, what will you eat? The monk can surely find food elsewhere, but we have nowhere else to turn." Thomas listened patiently to his wife's outburst. When she finished, he spoke softly, but with unwavering conviction. "Eleanor, this man hasn't eaten for 2 days. A hungry stomach knows no patience. If we don't help him, who will? God sees everything and will provide for us in return." Eleanor's protests had been loud enough to reach the courtyard, and the monk heard every word. Nevertheless, he remained seated, silently observing the moral struggle unfolding inside. Disregarding his wife's objections, Thomas brought the bread to the monk and placed it before him with genuine warmth. "Please eat, Holy One. This is the best our home can offer today." The monk said nothing, his hunger evident. He consumed the bread quickly and drank more water. A peaceful expression settled on his face as his immediate suffering was alleviated. When the monk finally rose to leave, he beckoned Thomas closer. Reaching into his tattered bag, he pulled out something that caught the sunlight and sent brilliant reflections dancing across the courtyard walls. A bowl of pure gold, its surface intricately engraved with symbols of ancient wisdom. Thomas stared in astonishment as the monk extended this treasure toward him. "I cannot accept this," Thomas protested, stepping back. "This belongs to you." The monk smiled serenely. "Last week, I visited the palace of a great king. He gave me this golden bowl as an offering, but I've been carrying it, waiting to find someone worthy of its possession, someone who understands the true meaning of wealth. Today, Yi, I found that person in you." Thomas still hesitated, but the monk continued, his voice gaining strength and authority. "My son, this bowl is the fruit of your karma, your selfless actions. Always remember that karma is the truest Dharma. You have helped others without any expectation of reward, and that is the purest form of virtue." The monk placed the bowl in Thomas's reluctant hands. "Keep this bowl, not as payment, but as a symbol that the universe acknowledges those who act with compassion. Your kindness has not gone unnoticed." His eyes seemed to peer directly into Thomas's soul as he added, "Your generosity will bring comfort not only to you but to your entire family. Use this gift wisely, but never let material wealth change the goodness of your heart. This is merely a symbol that God always recognizes and rewards virtuous deeds when the time is right." With these words, the monk departed, leaving Thomas standing in the courtyard, the golden bowl gleaming in his hands as tears of gratitude filled his eyes. In that moment, he silently vowed to continue helping others regardless of circumstances. Friends, true karma is the most authentic form of Dharma, spiritual duty. Those who perform good deeds without expecting anything in return will always receive their just rewards, though perhaps not in the ways or times they might expect. We should never retreat from our commitment to righteous action. The invisible ledger of the universe records everything, and balance is always eventually restored. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and share it widely so this message can reach as many souls as possible. Through small acts of kindness, we create ripples that transform not just individual lives, but the very fabric of our world. Remember, what you give to the universe returns, often multiplied beyond imagination.